help us use them wisely in the service of our town government. We ask this in thy holy name, amen. Salute the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first thing will be to welcome everybody in the public, and anybody would like to address us. Go for it. Paul.
I'm here on behalf of Champlain EMS. I'm the president of Champlain EMS, and it really is more of an informational kind of a situation. As it turns out, we're finding, if you read today's paper in Essex County, we're really finding the same situation here in Champlain and Moores with volunteers. Volunteering, especially in the evening and weekends here with EMS. As you probably know, we have paid service during the day in both communities, but are relying on individuals to volunteer both in the afternoon, evening, and late at night. And what's happened is that with the lack of volunteers, and especially the lack of critical care volunteers, we're just running into some very difficult situations, and we just feel that since we are obligated to provide the service 24/7, that we're going to have to add some additional staff here before the year is over, and that we fully expect that the budget in both Champlain and Moores will reflect that expense next year. And that's really all I have to say.
Do you have any idea of what that additional expense is?
It's pretty preliminary, but we're expecting that the cost to the town of Champlain is going to be somewhere just above, we're hoping $30,000 more a year. If in fact we can keep the cost at that level. I think I took a look at it. It costs about $12 per $100,000 worth of assessment annually to provide that service. And you know, I guess I really don't know why I even looked at it, because if we don't have the volunteers, as I say, we're just obligated to provide this service, and we're just trying to, I won't say get ahead of the curve, because we really are having some issues right now, but not get too far behind it.
Do you see any incentives coming from the state or the federal government to give people, like some places have workman's comp that they provide, or insurances that is a way to encourage people to volunteer beyond just giving their time?
Not really. I think that we're trying to provide as much incentive as we can on our side to get people to find volunteers and to get those volunteers trained so that they in fact can assist us. But you know, it's really a slow process, as you know. And you know, I would suspect that this situation is probably going to get worse rather than get better as time goes on. You know, because the needs of the community are just are really increasing at the same time.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Paul?
I know that the state of New York has been looking into, in the past, for tax breaks on people volunteering their time for EMS and firefighting services, but they, as of this point, I don't think anything has been passed. But we are in definite need of volunteers.
And I don't think that any of us realize how much work Kendall Plant put into this. I mean, it's just, you know, without the hundreds and hundreds of calls that he completed year after year after year, it really has just left us in really a tough position, just as one man.
And to retain the certification is almost unrealistic for a volunteer, the critical care volunteers.
Yes, yeah.
We just need to keep up to date and provide the service. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, there really is. You know, none of us are really in a position to do anything else. And as I said, I really just thought that rather than the fall to come in and say it's going to be X dollars instead of the cost that we've had in the past, because I think that we're about 37 or 38 cents a thousand when we started the service, and we're able to, by keeping our cost level, we were able to whittle that down to about 28 cents a thousand. But this move, I suspect, is going to put us back at 38 cents a thousand or thereabouts.
Do they have a recruitment policy of any type to,
Yes, but it is such a commitment to take the training. We kind of offer kind of a scholarship kind of a situation to help people get into this. But it's not only financial; it is very, very lengthy. And so, I lose track of the terms that they use. But a regular tech, is going to go to school. Probably maybe part-time, but 6 or 8 months at least, just to maybe a year to get to the next level. I mean, it really is a devotion of time, to be sure.
is that training paid for by the department?
We are assisting in the payment of that, yes. Oh, we're trying, but
Yeah, I understand. It's a very, very needed service, for sure, Well, we thank you for your input and your insight and your heads up on the thing.
thank you.
Come back anytime. Come back with good news someday.
Do you think you really meant that? Good evening.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to address the board?
Go ahead, Tom.
It's all right. I'm no rush.
Go ahead.
I'm long-winded.
Okay. I gave each of you a sheet that we've gotten from Triangle Electric showing solar panels and the cost and the savings. Just to take you through it, I put an arrow pointing to the cost before incentive. And if you go down, you see there's a $50,000 and a $39,000, almost $40,000 that I indicated on there. And if you go over to the right-hand side, or even to the left there, you'll see that for the $50,000 system, with the incentives, there's a NYSERDA incentive of, at that level, the $50,000 level, there's a $15,000 NYSERDA incentive. Puts a customer cost at $35,000. There's a state tax credit of $5,000. And there's a federal tax credit of $15,000, so it brings the final price down to $15,000, assuming you can qualify for all those $15,000 in tax credits. There is a move right now to make the federal tax credit an actual grant, so you won't have to wait to get your money back. So you've got to be paying enough taxes right now so that you would qualify to get those credits back over a period of years. But the $50,000 one right now would show a savings of about $900 a year. And looking at this, I looked at the $50,000 and I said, if that ever went on the tax rolls as an assessment, we would pay more in school taxes alone without looking at the town and federal and state taxes, county taxes. There'd be more paid on school taxes alone than what you're saving on the electricity. Now, we're all looking to, well, I can't say we're all doing it, but a lot of people are looking to try to find ways to go green, to save on fossil fuels, and the solar panels are a good way of looking at that. But I think before a lot of people would go into this, there'd have to be some assurance that 5 years down the road they wouldn't be suddenly assessed the full value of what that would have cost to put in. I talked with Jim Gagno. He said right now we're not doing it, but if all of a sudden there's a lot of these and they're being sold and they're going at a higher price because of these solar panels, then we'd have to look at it as a way to increase the assessment. I don't think anybody puts these up because of their beauty. I don't think they enhance your property as far as looking at it. You're putting it up as a way to save on electricity usage. So I mentioned to you, Larry, that I saw you Saturday or Thursday, whatever day it was, that I'd be bringing this up, but I'm looking if there's some way that the town or the county or even the state level, some kind of a law can be passed that would assure that these wouldn't be added to the tax rolls sometime in the distant future. Otherwise, there's just no incentive there really when people start looking at the bottom line to do this when you've got that possible tax assessment hanging over your head. So that's my question. Is there some way that,
You know, I do not know that answer to that question, other than say is that the state, real property office, the state, not the county, comes up with rules and regulations, and, you know, I have no clue whether our state representatives could tell us this or not. And it's a point well taken. If you invest a lot of money, then your return is not there later, I understand that. If they're not taxed now, why would they tax them other than revenue? I know. But I have no answer for you. If anybody else has got any input here.
So what was Jim Gagne's response?
he says right now, we're not being told to assess them. So we're just ignoring them, just like you would an above ground pool. But he said sometime in the future, if there's a lot of these around and the homes are being sold, and it looks like, you know, two properties, the same thing being sold, one sells for a significant amount more because they have the solar panels, then they'd have to put an assessed value on it. Now, whether it would be the full 50,000 or whether it would say, you know, if it sold for 10,000 more, it'd assess it an extra 10,000. Unless the whole county went for it, the only time the town would lose money would be when it comes to getting our sales tax revenue, because we wouldn't have those assessed into our property values if the rest of the county is. But I would like to see, you know, the county do it, and it's actually may have to state level. But it's got to start somewhere, and I thought.
I don't think we as a town board can say that we won't assess them. If the state law says they are assessed down the road somewhere. That's my thing, you know.
Right. But we've got to start somewhere if you feel that this is something that shouldn't be assessed, if you feel that something that...
I guess I probably need to talk to Jim Gagne and maybe our state assemblywoman, the state senator. I mean, I don't know where to start with this.
Yeah, so,
Because
will you?
that's not a problem. To my knowledge, they're both coming up to Champlain here in about 5-6 weeks.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe you could even talk to the county legislator, see what he thinks.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is that whenever we try to get involved in assessment issues, it is counterproductive in terms of trying to do, you know, they're an autonomous group, they do their own assessing and so on. If you could show an environmental issue, the state could potentially put something down that would give you the tax credit for the assessment, or maybe, I don't know whether, I've never heard of a state mandating something and saying, if you put this in, we won't allow assessors to assess that. I don't know that.
There are farm silos, there are things.
Well, but not anything like this. I don't think this would be a kind of a separate issue. But you could get a tax credit out of it, which might save you some money too. I mean, I don't know, but I think you're right, Larry, to try and start at that level. This issue has not come up at the county.
It has now.
Good, and I'm glad. Did Jim say is this the first time that he'd been contacted about it?
Yeah, I think he's thought about it, but because he's got his cousin John Champlain down here that's got it, and so he's obviously aware of him. And
Yeah.
and Larry, you got a neighbor, a relative, I think, of yours that is just down the road who's got.
There's several.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of them around. Yeah.
Those that I've spoken to said it pays off because a lot of them had 3/4 incentive, 3/4 of the bill roughly that was paid for, you know.
Right.
What was it a 5-year payback? Calvin, is that what you said?
No, you can see in the line to the right, if you invest
Oh, I see.
15,000 bottom line after the incentives, you'd get $900 back. That's about 6% on your money.
It's gonna take 18
So-
years to do it.
Yeah, so it takes a long time to get your money back. You're not doing it because you're going to make money on it. You're doing it to help the environment and to save on tax and to save on your electric bill. But if you're going to take the electric money, put it in your pocket, and add to that and pay taxes on it, there's not much incentive. So
I think John McHugh would be a place to start too. I mean, I think the federal government, they are the ones that are prioritizing the whole concept of green. And I think because the state could probably, the state might be able to do something too, but John McHugh also, I think you might.
Well, you could maybe a tax incentive there, but the assessment laws, I think, come from the state, not from the federal.
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I was just speaking about the idea of getting some credit for it.
Well, there is in the initial input, because if you had to pay the before cost, before incentive cost, it'd definitely be prohibitive.
But you
because-
might be able to structure it so that if there was an assessment increase, there would be an offset with, if the people that you're talking to, if you could allay their fears with some kind of, sliding scale relative to the assessment, and then a tax credit if the assessment went up based upon that. That's what I was talking about. But
Yeah.
again, it's a good idea because it is the right thing to do. I mean, there's no, for the future, for our grandchildren, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and right now,
There's no question.
right now our governor is trying to find all the unique ways he can to increase our taxes, and so just because this isn't taxed right now doesn't mean that.
We're practically the highest tax state in the union now, so.
So I'd like to see it start here at this level, in the county level, and go from there.
Friday, Jim's usually here on Fridays. I will speaking to Jim. And maybe tomorrow, if I get a chance, I'll call the Prospect office. Then I can work on our representatives. I don't know where else to go with it.
Yeah, that's all I'm asking. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll take it down to county. It's a good idea.
Does anyone else have anything that they'd like to share with the board? Barry, do you have?
Well, I had a couple things. I don't know whether it's the appropriate time to, you want to do it now? Okay.
I don't know. Go ahead.
Okay. Talked to Al today, Al Rasco, and have you calculated, I'm just curious because I wanted to bring this back to him, the potential savings for the salt purchase at $71 a thousand for the town? How much, roughly what we're saving this year from last year?
Oh, we're gonna save, this town usually uses about 600 tons.
Okay.
So we'll be saving $29 a ton.
18,000.
We'd be saving 18,000 at that $71.
Right. All right, he was just curious, we were trying to report back, maybe they're trying to get a county figure, total county figure. The other thing on roads, I don't know whether anybody's complained here, but they're doing a reassessment for DOT. I don't know whether you've heard anything on Route 11, where they're telling people that have signs that they need to move them. Has anybody heard anything about that? No. It's happened in Moores already.
Signs too close to the road or something?
What's that?
Are the signs too close to the
They're
road?
too close they've been too close to the road forever. And but I guess there was a lawsuit, and so what the state and the person named the state of New York as one, and you can sue anybody. And of course, when the state gets sued, it gets worried, and that's what happened. So if you hear anything, Al Rasco, I've been involved with DOT too. We have gotten them into a situation where if it's a hardship, they're like a lady in Moores there had a sign for a parking area and lodging area, which she wanted, as close to the road as she could. The state agreed to come in and remove all the brush, but she still had to move the sign. Now apparently it's 50 feet from the center of the road, but in some areas there is an actual old stone marker. You must have seen them, Alan, and that becomes the side where they have to keep it out of that area. So if you hear anything, they may have stopped in the town of Moores, but I have a feeling they're going to continue in the town of Champlain. So if you hear anything about it, and anybody calls you about it, refer them to me. That's what happened in this case. And what's that?
Gladly.
I know that, but I just.
I haven't heard a word.
Okay, good. I tried to find out if there was going to be any DOT stimulus money spent up in this area or even in the county, and they keep changing it, so it was impossible as of today in terms of any of the state roads that might be looked at. But they are redoing them, they are prioritizing them, and I don't know whether you guys have had any input on that, but certainly the county is hoping. Initially they were going to do parts of Route 9 and then potentially some of 87, but whether or not they're going to come up and do 9 up in this area or Route 11, I don't know yet, but within the next month or so, we should know that. Did Tracy Parsons get in touch with you? Okay, our youth.
Don't recognize the name.
Okay, she said she tried to. She called you, left a message. I just wanted you to touch base that they're having some board meetings at the county level in terms of funding and so on, and she's our representative. She's our Area 1 representative. So maybe she wasn't able to get back to you.
For highway funds or?
No, youth.
What's her name again?
Tracy Parsons. And she's met with Rudy Miller, I guess, and so in any event, if you have any concerns about funding levels, programs, and so on, they're looking conceptually at the total package within the next month or two. So you can give her some input. I did take the 4th airport tour that we had set up at the county, and it's even more impressive than it was the last time. We've hired a new manager, Tom Long, who brings a tremendous amount of experience, and so I hope that he knew more about airports. He'd been in them all his life. He'd managed one out in Indiana and so on, and he has really brought a new level of expertise to the county at the airport. And a couple things that came out of the meeting, one of the things that I wasn't aware of, we've gone up to 44,000 enplanements in a year. And when you do that, you go over the 10,000 mark, you end up getting an extra $1 million. So the county is actually going to get an extra $1 million to put into capital improvements down at the airport. I know there was some controversy at the time relative to whether that was the methodology we should go to in terms of pushing the county forward, but it seems to me to be a fortuitous decision in terms of just, you know, if you build it, business will eventually come. And the other figure that struck me was that they've spent about $30,500,000 down there, and $29,750,000 has been brought in by federal and state agencies. So that's about 95% of it, and the rest has been made up in fees that passengers pay that use it. We happened to be down there during one of the Allegiant Air Florida trips, which obviously are very popular at this time of year. The weather is just being what it is and so on. It really had a feel of a much larger airport. 150 people are getting on a plane, and they're all either going through you know, security and so on. It was really something. And so we have seen no county tax increase at all for the airport. And I just, you know, sometimes you hear things and so on, and I think we need to get that message out. The new plan down there is to put $1.4 million into further parking areas. The parking area we built, I don't know how many have had a chance to be down there, but it's not big enough for the overflow, and so we have to put in new parking, and that is all covered too. And we actually have, and this is where airports make their money, is on tenants who actually, you know, have rent space down there. We have 26 tenants now, and they're bringing in about $800,000 a year. So that's just an incredible thing that we've created down there. And I've offered this, I think, the last time I was here, but if any of you would like to take, they've been talking loosely sometimes about setting up a tour and bringing down supervisors, councilmen, or whatever, and just showing people around. We could certainly take a look at that and see when they had time. It's very impressive. Let me go to sales tax. I don't know what your latest figures were, but the ones that I was able to get today were down slightly from last year, but we're really not going to know anything until July 1, when all of the figures come in and we can get a much better look at it. But they're standing by their figures that they gave you in terms of your budget estimates. So the county is hoping that that's what it is, but it is down slightly. Saying that, you know that it's always above whatever figure they give you. So it may be down slightly, but not in terms of the overage, which is what you guys usually are the beneficiaries of. The computer change that we've been talking about for some time, we're implementing in the next 2 weeks for the villages are going to sign up first, the uniformity of the computer programs. And both your villages, I'm sure you probably know this, Champlain and Rouse's Point have already signed up to do it. The school, because their taxing jurisdiction begins first in June, and then the school in September. And so they're next, and you guys will be training, I think, in November, early December, for the next year, and then everybody, supposedly everybody will be online. We'll be able to find out who paid what taxes and when, and it'll be much more of a coordinated effort between the county and the towns. I did talk a little bit to Al about shared services. I don't know, Alan, whether do you have striping to do this year and so on? Yeah, okay. And, you know, and also some paving?
Yep.
Yeah, he wasn't sure how much, Rouse's Point has finally decided to get involved with that, and big time. They're gonna let the county do it. It's just cheaper, and it works better, and it saves everybody money. So hopefully, that's something that we'll be able to continue. I did want to mention, under the issue of building and grounds, Betty Little is going to have an office down at the county office building, just so you know that. That's my committee, and so we're down there setting up an office for the state senator, not for Betty Little. I should probably phrase that differently. But in any event, she will have a liaison office down there at the county, and hopefully opening up this summer. The last thing is the Mosaic project, which is part of our quadricentennial at the county. All the schools have participated. I have not seen yet Northeast Clinton's specific panels that they're doing, although I know they're doing something specifically for Samuel D. Champlain. It's going to be probably a 15 to 20 foot mural, which will be on the building at the county. And hopefully July 9th is the date. I don't know that that's going to be firm, but hopefully, and you know, we hope to have a huge group of people there dedicating it. There should be at least 5 to 10 students whose work is included from each of the 9 area schools. And they're depicting from 1608 all the way up through, I think it's 1870 when Keysville became incorporated, so they're going to be murals doing the whole thing. Locally, what I've tried to get Al to be able to do, we had some problems with the Champlain Bridge here in the village with lead paint. We were going to have it all painted for the dedication of the library and museum, and you know, I don't know that we're going to be able to do that, but anyway, Al has been in touch with Celine, and hopefully we'll be able, the county will be able to do something to make it look a little nicer than it does. It doesn't look the best right now, and I'm not sure that paint is going to do that, because apparently there's some prohibition against painting over lead paint and so on without, it's a massive work which the county would have to, you know, bid out for and so on. So, but we will be working with her, and hopefully the county employees will be there for our local celebration here. Jane, do you know when that is? Is it
The Community Day sometime in August?
Sometime in August, so.
August 8th.
August 8th, okay. So, you know, hopefully we'll have that kind of coordination. And that's about all I have. You know, again, any questions, I am going to, Calvin, I will see what the county knows about this in terms of certainly an idea and so on. Jim may have kicked that along, but you guys, I'm going to try and make, I'm going to put myself on a schedule from now on, so I should be here every 3rd month. And if you need me more, all you got to do is call and so on, but I should be here every 3rd month. I'm going to try and do the villages and try and do 1 a month, so that puts me here about every 3 months, okay? So, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Good
Supervisor.
to see you.
Do you have any update for us? Last time you were here, you talked about a potential grant through the health department regarding...
I had, actually, it's on my list, but I decided, I had hoped to make an announcement relative to this, but the state is still, Governor Patterson, I think it's fair to say, is pernicious may not be the right word, but he certainly is not making final decisions on where a lot of this money is going to be going. And this one looked like a sure thing back in the fall before the economy fell out of the United States and the rest of the world. So I don't know. They're still very optimistic. I was at a meeting about a month ago, but the announcement has not been made. It was supposed to have been made, if you remember, in I think it was late December, early January. This would bring a person up here, full-time, but splitting it between here and Plattsburgh, who would do an assessment in terms of our need relative to recreation, healthcare, and so on, and then she or he would be the one who would work with us to try and set up this bike path, certainly between Rouse's Point and Champlain. We did get, Larry came to a meeting and signed on to it, and you know, they were very impressed that we had, Marie Miller was there, both mayors were there, and so on, and we were able to at least get to that stage. But I've not heard anything. You know, it is an interesting grant in the sense that it's under the state nutrition program as opposed to recreation, so that they're doing it with the idea of living healthier and promoting that kind of thing. So it would be a non-motorized, you know, bike path, walking path, potential cross-country skiing path. Those would be the things that would be included, all for recreation. And if we started in pieces even, in terms of, and I think the funding levels were low, it was about 10% maybe for each of the communities, and then the state would kick in about 70. That's what, you know, we were looking at. And even if we started with just going from the high school, for example, to Rouse's Point as track 1, and then the high school to Champlain, whether or not we pick it up in Morris, because there were some issues there. They've leased part of that old railroad bed to snowmobilers, so there was an issue there, and you know, the two can't coexist at the same time. But as soon as I hear, I will give the town supervisor a call and let him know. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. You had something, Mike?
Yeah, as you know, we've been working with Bernier and Carr on this West Service Road project. Greg had some stuff when we came back from New York. Mr. Matt Cooper from Bernier and Carr is here tonight to explain the grant process to the board. And if you have some questions for him, he's more than willing to answer your questions.
Did he bring a large check with him?
I didn't check his wallet.
Go ahead.
Sure. A lot of wastewater projects that have been studied and consequently shelved over the past number of years because of limited state and federal funds, many of which are now coming back to life. The two primary funding sources for sewer projects are the New York State Clean Water Revolving Fund and USDA Rural Development, a state agency and federal agency. The Clean Water Program historically has not had a grant component to it. So to construct a project funded through them, you had to be able to make your project work financially with just a loan. Their program was loan only, either low interest or no interest loans. The other participating agency, USDA Rural Development, provided grants, but in recent years capped those to $500,000 on any single project. So those limitations really have slowed the progress of wastewater projects throughout the state. And I think that's why in this new stimulus package, there's actually considerably more money being put toward sewer projects and water projects. New York State was given about $435 million toward sewer projects and only $85 million toward water projects. So they noticed that there's become a considerable backlog of sewer projects, and I think that's why so many more funds were thrown at that. Relevant to your projects, you know, some of these that we had studied, the South Street Water and Sewer, the West Service Road Water and Sewer, Route 11 water, some of those were shelved primarily because of funding limitations. Now, there may be opportunity now to bring some of those back to life. Some that you've expressed significant interest in, more so, is the West Service Road, sewer and perhaps water at the same time. There is a possibility that this Clean Water program will now have a continuing grant component that will continue past just this initial injection of stimulus money. They're pushing very hard for that so that it mirrors the drinking water program. The drinking water program in the state for water projects has had a grant component to it. And if you qualify for hardship, then they'll give you a loan grant split to make your project affordable. So with that in mind, what they're looking at now, particularly for the stimulus money, is to get the money into the economy as soon as possible. So, one of these, catchphrases they keep using is this shovel ready. Now that's been pretty loosely defined for the past several months that they've been throwing that term around, this shovel ready. But as it pertains to a sewer project that would be applying for clean water funds, it's the first few steps to show that there's public support, that the local government is going to back it, and that would be forming your district, and it would be completing your environmental review and your bond resolution. Those are the three basic steps they're looking for projects to take before they're going to give you a serious look at funding. And that's primarily with stimulus, but is this money is intended to get into the economy very quickly, they're still going to have quite a challenge getting that amount of money in this quickly. They're talking about some of it rolling over into 2010 to further distribute it. So I think it's still important to take those initial steps to show your readiness. I think it strengthens your funding applications one step further to have taken those initial steps. The cost related to those steps for you, I believe, would be minimal because you have already completed the study. The map, plan, and report is what you need to form a district. I mean, it's the first step. You've already done that. We completed that for you 4 years ago, and we updated it for you. And we updated it for you most recently when we updated your funding application to try to get in line for some stimulus monies. That would have been the major expense in forming the district. The rest of it is primarily a legal process. And I've talked with Mike on some occasions about consulting your attorney to find out what those costs might be. But you're going to have a public hearing for the district formation, depending on how you decide to form the district. Under Article 12 or 12A municipal law, you'll either have a referendum, permissive referendum, or petition to form the district. So there's some legal costs associated with that. I've seen it vary quite widely from project to project, depending on the attorney and their familiarity with the process. Some that do it quite frequently, tend to have fairly minimal costs associated with that. But I mean, you're talking a couple $1,000. This would be my guess, but you'd have to ask your attorney. So you've got public hearings, referendums, and really then it's formed on paper. In your formation, you can form the district based on receiving certain funds or meeting a certain target service charge. And if that isn't met, then the district just stays there on paper. You never go into construction. There's no cost to the people because there's no cost incurred by the district. There was no capital construction if you don't move forward. But like I said, those steps would make your project that much more appealing to a funding agency to show that readiness, to show the public support and the government backing. At this point, then the decision would be up to you and of course those encompassed by the district as to whether or not you want to take those initial steps. If there's still public support for that within the district, I would suggest having an informal public hearing to talk about that. We can do a presentation of what the district boundaries are, what the cost scenarios are, and find out if that is palatable to those in that district. Now, the West Service Road is primarily a commercial area. Many of those, I guess there's a split on those that have a high water usage and those that don't. You may get some mixed feedback, and we may give us an indication that we need to play with the district boundary a little bit to encompass those that are supportive and those that aren't, or exclude those that aren't. So that type of feedback could be generated at a public information meeting. And I say public, but it's primarily for that district. Those are the only people that would vote for the district, is those encompassed by the district. The costs incurred by constructing water, wastewater, that cost is only bared by those within the district. The rest of the town does not have to pay anything toward that district. It's a standalone financial entity.
Okay, Bernie Carr would be here at a hearing if we had one, so.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've told Craig and I've told Mike that at this point we would have no further billings toward the town to support you through that process. We could be here for your informal public information meeting and through your formal public hearings for district formation.
Where does an intermunicipal agreement fit into this? Because obviously we're going to need another.
Absolutely. I mean, it's part of the process. Really, the district can't have an agreement with the village until there is a district.
Okay.
But you definitely want to have at least a handshake agreement
Right.
prior to forming the district, because you need to know that they're going to cooperate, because that will be your source of water or your point of discharge of your wastewater.
Right.
And you need to have at least some type of agreement for the cost. I mean, that's going to really drive the affordability of the project.
Would you know the volume that you would be generating from that district, and if the village could handle it?
Yes, yeah. The report covers a lot of that. I don't have a lot of those figures on the top of my head, but I think we're somewhere in the range of 10,000 gallons per day generated by this district for wastewater. And I believe the village, the last usage reports I have for them show them several 100,000 gallons per day below their permitted and treatment capacity.
Yeah, they weren't even close.
Yeah. I think
This is something we should discuss tomorrow night, definitely.
But we do want to have a meeting with all those people in the potential district
Yes.
sooner rather than later. I mean, if you want to move forward with this. Matt was suggesting that, we try and schedule this either next week or the week after. We send out notices. I would try to have this during the day, because these are businesses we're targeting. So I'm sure they could send representatives here to hear, rather than having an evening meeting. I think it'd be easier on everybody.
That makes sense. Agreed.
I agree.
When they come to vote on this, is it like a weighted vote? I mean, if one property owner owns several hundred acres versus a property owner that only owns 10, is it a weighted vote?
it's dependent on how you do it. If you do it by petition method, I think there's two criteria you have to meet. You have to have at least 51% of the assessed value in the district, and you have to have at least 50% of the parcel. Oh, actually, 50% of the year-round residents, which for that district, it'd be a little difficult to do that, because I think they're all businesses. But on a referendum, I think it's one vote per parcel.
Per parcel?
I believe so. I mean, your attorney could clarify that, but I'm quite sure that it's one vote per parcel.
When we did the survey back in 2004, 2005, I remember an overwhelming majority wanting water and sewer. Now, there was some concerns about, they all want to know what it's going to cost, and at that time, we didn't have any cost. But in principle, they were in favor of water and sewer. Now, since then, they've had a lot of problems with water and sewer issues up there, groundwater being polluted, and the health department got after them for testing their water and so on and so forth. So there are, I think there's 12 businesses that are under the monthly reporting to the health department. So, I mean, unless their minds have changed, and, we need to find this out, so.
Okay.
Let's move forward.
Oh, yeah.
Let's set up a meeting.
Set up a meeting, we'll discuss it tomorrow probably, give them a list of the property owners and send out, and we'll pick a date, in conjunction with Bernie Carr, make sure somebody can be here. Sure.
The only question I have for Matt is this bond resolution. I understand how it works, but what is the cost associated with that? You've been involved with it, so just.
Right. The bond resolution is just the resolution that authorizes the town to bond for the cost of the project. But that would come after your environmental review and after your district formation. And again, I think you could delay some time on a bond resolution. I don't know. I mean, that third component, again, it authorizes you to bond for the cost of the project, but you incorporate in your district formation a target service charge or a funding requirement to start construction. So it authorizes you to, but the district formation parameters you have don't let you go forth and borrow $1 million without a penny of grant if that's not what you put in your district formation. So it allows you to do, it authorizes you to do so, but it doesn't require you to do so unless you meet the stipulations of your district formation.
Does the state comptroller get involved with this at some point?
The state comptroller does have to approve the district. If the district is established below a target service charge set annually by the state comptroller, it's basically a rubber stamp approval. If you're above that, then it'll be a more in-depth approval of the district.
I have a little bit of knowledge with Miramar and Route 11 and how that, but that was back afterwards if you, because the bonding resolution took place after the district was formed and after the water and sewer were put in place. So we got approval from the state after everything's done. So it was a very difficult time to get permission from the state to do this. And if I recall, I think sewer is, they go for bond for 30 years and water is for 20. The length of the bond that can be issued.
Yep. I mean, depending on what funding agency you use. I mean, you could choose to have a 20-year loan or choose to have a 30-year loan. You know, whatever. You don't want your loan to outlive the facility, whatever you're borrowing for. I mean,
and
if you're
basically what the residents or the people within the district would want, I would assume.
right.
Okay, do we need tonight other than consensus to go forward? I mean,
No. Like I said, the next meeting would just be an informational meeting.
Okay.
There's no resolutions or decisions being made at this time. It's just to solicit input from those in the district. The one other component of this I did want to mention from my discussions with Craig and with Mike was that the water funding applications you submitted for the West Service Road Water District didn't score very high in the intended use plan, which is the priority rankings for water projects throughout the state. And we talked about still the potential of coupling that with a village project. They got points because of water quality issues, water storage issues, and distribution system issues. You got points because of connecting additional public water supplies. A restaurant, for example, has a New York State PWS ID number, public water supply number. So by merging those, you get points. So there were certain points that you got that the village wouldn't get, and certain points they got that you wouldn't get. But if you merge the two, you could compile those. You would also then be eligible for shared services implementation grants. Something you may want to consider, I don't know if the village is still a willing participant in a joint project or not. It's, some discussions you may want to have with them yet, but I just wanted to throw that out there that could potentially strengthen your funding application for water.
The other component to that is the border crossing up there. If you could get them on board with looping that line through there and demonstrating the need that they, or the benefit that they would get from this, we may do very well in scoring or trying to get money. So.
I think we should revisit that. It was 4 or 5 years ago when we talked to them and they were just starting their project, and their engineer met with us. I don't know if you remember that, at the village office, and he said, "We don't need you, we've got everything figured out." So we really didn't move forward with any cooperation with them at that point, but maybe things have changed. Maybe now that their new system is online and perhaps it's not satisfying their needs, this may be an opportunity to see if there is an opportunity to cooperate with them to further strengthen your funding applications.
A lot of work to do.
hey, we'll get on it tomorrow, I hope. And we'll get back to you.
I'll call you Thursday or Friday.
Try to schedule a meeting when somebody's available from your office.
And you will have numbers at that meeting, I mean, that's what people are gonna know, what's it gonna cost.
Yep, and that's what I have in the engineering report, but, you know, one of those open issues is still what cost will be negotiated with the village on wastewater. You currently have rates now, and perhaps I should get updated numbers from you. I think the last ones I got were 4 or 5 years ago when we prepared this report.
So you increase the
But, you know, I understand that's still something that's under some scrutiny. It was part of your shared services study also, to further look into rates and see if there's a possibility of negotiating some better rates. Something that's more of a wholesale rate than a retail rate for our districts.
Okay, any other questions from anyone?
Thanks for coming out, Matt.
Yep, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Having
Thank
me.
you,
Matt.
We will take the necessary steps to go forward.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Anybody else has got anything on it? I need a motion to approve the minutes of March 10th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of March 10th.
Second.
Any questions or concerns or corrections? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, one abstention, Dick wasn't here for the meeting. Thank you. Passes. Nikki's gone, but Alan might be able to answer this question. On our next letter here, broken water pipe on 7 Prospect Street, Alan. That has been taken care of, I
That's
believe?
been taken care of. The guy that we sent the letter to, he put his own septic in the back of his own.
Okay,
So he didn't involve Rouse's Point, and we didn't have nothing to do with it.
okay. Well, actually, both letters, the first and second one, pertaining to that has been taken care of. That's for information only. One thing less that we have to deal with. We had a Public Employees Risk Management Association payroll audit. Came fine on that, as far as I know. There's no irregularities or any problems with it. Okay. Your next letter. Wait a minute. The annual election of the permanent board of directors. I did not send this back, but to my knowledge, the town has never. Have we ever voted, Jane? Do you know of?
For the Board of Elections, or
Yes.
the elections for the PERMA?
Yes.
Yes, the past supervisors have gone to the meetings and have voted.
Okay.
I've attended a couple of them 2 years ago, but you can do it by proxy as well.
Okay. Is anybody interested in going to this? It's at Sagamore, I believe, isn't it, Jane?
Yes.
Sagamore, down Bolton Landing, in May sometimes. They have it. Well, anyways, if anybody's interested in going to the PERMA, it's a Thursday and a Friday, I believe, 2-day meeting. If anybody's interested in going to that, let us know. Got a letter from New York State Municipal Insurance pertaining to our rates adjustment. In fact, they're going down slightly, which is a good for us, 5 to 6%. We certainly don't have the final figures on that, but this is for any municipality that does not have law enforcement liability, and we do not. Okay. We have two-day seminar for risk management at Clinton County. This is through NYMER. I've asked Jane if she wanted to go. I would like a motion to approve her to go if it would be the desire of the board. I believe it's a Wednesday and a Thursday, Jane, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
I make a motion that we allow Jane to attend the risk management safety seminar.
Second.
Any questions?
That's something you wanna go to, Alan? To find
Is that-
space?
I don't know, that's,
I got 2.5 days. The end of the month.
Alan and I and Tim took another course earlier about.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to that after.
Well,
I'll
I
bring
just
back
thought-
the material.
Okay.
I really thought Jane's the one that should be there, she does bookkeeping, you know. So, I have a motion, I believe, in a second, Julie on that.
Just didn't know if
I
Alan
second
was,
it.
if Alan was gonna have her out there doing excavating or
Any
find
questions on that?
space reviews. Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Landfill testing, we got a letter from John Gay, who works with Casella. They are gonna be doing the vapor intrusion pathway test by Martin and Judas during the 2009 sampling. Okay, that's just for information.
I know that's when that's gonna happen.
You got the letter there, Steve?
Yeah, I don't see a date on
I don't either,
No.
they do, normally do it during the summer months,
They do testing twice a year, in the
Right.
spring and again in the fall. Exact dates, I do not know.
yeah, they don't tell us. They do send us reports when they're sober with, and a bill.
there. Surprise.
I got a letter from the Joint Council of Economic Opportunity. We need to appoint someone to the Board of Directors again. Our representative this past year has been Joan Sieglin. She has showed an interest in continuing, if that's the desire of the board, and I would like a motion if that would be agreeable to the board, so.
Make a motion to reappoint Joan Sieglin as our designee for JCO board.
I'll second that motion.
Any questions on this one? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. The Great Chazy River Memorial, VFW post. Once again, we're approaching the time of year when our organization makes buddy copies available to the public. It's just, we've always made a motion to allow them to do that within the township. It's signed by Earl Robinson, the commander of the VFW post. It's something we've done for years, at least since I've been here anyway, so.
I make a motion that we allow the Great Chazy River Memorial Post 1418 to sell poppies during the week of May 11th through the 16th.
Second that motion.
Any questions on this one? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. There's a letter for your information only, I sent to the village, telling them that basically we're effective April 1st. We'll be reading all our own meters and repairing our meters and performing all operations as necessary in the treatment and delivery of the water and sewer. That's information only. We got a letter from Clinton County Treasurer's Office, and it closes the check for $101,778. This is the first quarter distribution of 2009 sales tax. For your information, it's certainly welcome to mail when the check comes that large. The Real Property Office has given us a schedule for, they're here every Friday this month. That's for information only. We got a letter from the Real Property Office in New York State stating that your municipality has demonstrated successful completion of the annual reassessment for 2008 and are eligible for up to $5 per parcel state aid. We get somewhere around $15,000 a year
At the top.
if we're up to date, and we are. So that's strictly informational.
So why don't we just take that off the taxes instead of?
Yeah.
Can't tell you that. Time Warner sent us a letter of information only. It's the company split off. It's a spin-off of Time Warner Cable now. It's Time Warner Incorporated. It has nothing to do with the level of service or affects our customers in any way, those that have cable within our township. North Country Life Flight Incorporated. This is a helicopter service that for emergency life-threatening situations where they transport people to hospitals or whatever. We normally contribute $100 a year towards this. It's the desire of the board. I wish for a motion to continue that.
I'll make motion to continue $100 donation to North Country Life Flight.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Any questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I have a request from two representatives that normally do our setup and canvassing our voting machines in the fall of the year. These people are paid $150 each for the elections by the county. Then the county bills us and we reimburse the county for their services. Above and beyond that, they're asking for mileage, something that we have never paid, and I don't know if we want to start paying it or not. We checked with their home district, and their home district does not pay mileage either. My only question is, and I did call election commissioners, Board of Election, and they told me for some reason that these people do not accept without mileage, that they would work with us as far as getting some other neighboring towns to come in and do this. It's my understanding, and I don't know if Harry can shed any light on it or not, when we get the brand new machines, we're not going to need these.
That's the theory they're working under. The training will be such that they will not need them.
And we didn't think last year, we didn't think we would need them this year, but apparently we still do.
Yes.
The election machines are not in place, we'll still be using the old machines,
That's my understanding, yeah.
okay? So I just need some direction here. Willing to pay somebody mileage that we've never done it before, or do we try to,
Some of them will be available, Larry. I'm not sure whether we're gonna get the one sent up here or not. Some of the new machines have been purchased and are available, but I haven't seen a disbursement in terms of whether some are coming. They're gonna do all of one area, you know, rather than send them out, because then they have to double train people, so I haven't seen it.
my only question this evening is, do we want to start paying mileage for something we haven't? Or do we, if they don't accept without the mileage, do we look somewhere else? That's all I need to know.
Both of those. We don't start, and we look for somebody else.
Is that a motion?
Make it the form of motion. I don't think we should set precedents. No one in the area is doing this, and,
Okay.
unless we should follow suit. There doesn't seem to be anyone doing it in the area.
I'll make a motion not to accept.
Okay, not to pay mileage. Okay. Second?
Well, that was my motion.
Motion?
Okay.
Second. Okay, fine. Okay, so motion is not to start paying mileage.
Correct.
I'll
Okay.
second.
We're still gonna pay the $150 each.
Oh,
for
understandable,
that.
yeah.
The county pays them, we reimburse the county when they bill us. The motion is not to pay mileage. Any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We will inform them and the county Board of Elections.
And I think the bottom line is that no one else is doing it. I don't see why we should.
I understand.
That's,
I totally agree. They came last year and looked for it, and we didn't pay it.
Okay.
Now they came back formally with a request, okay? We have a letter from Tom Manning, the zoning attorney for the town of Champlain, pertaining to a letter that he sent to another lawyer that's representing a client within the township. This is strictly for information. We have directed a month or 2 months ago maybe, our town board has directed Tom Renee to go forward with this, and he has. There was a public hearing. We got this after our last meeting, before this meeting obviously. There was a public hearing in the town of Shazy pertaining to a Rod and Gun Club that's buying a piece of property close by our pit that we own up on the Macadam Road, okay? And it's several hundred feet away, but fairly close. We're one of the neighbors by just a few feet. I do not know the outcome of the hearing in Chazy. We did send back that we had no vested interest in it because it's a rural, I don't even know how close the closest house would be up there, Alan.
It's quite a ways.
A long ways.
Yeah.
Okay, that's strictly for information. We got a proposal to update our information, our website information. Something that we've been somewhat neglectful of, keeping it up on a monthly basis. That's the,
Right, in lieu of, this was discussed this afternoon, there's no problem that I see with this, except that, just this afternoon, Novatech, which services us,
yes,
is gonna also submit a proposal.
okay,
So,
Yeah.
in lieu of this price, I don't think, I've kind of semi-discussed it, no one knows what's a good price. So not saying to deny this, request, but
I understand.
just table it until we get another,
I left here at 2 o'clock this afternoon, I was not aware of that.
Well, we called Novatech in for a computer problem, and Dick
Yes.
happened to be here, so we just asked
So
them
kind
if
of
they would
just-
submit a
I have
proposal.
absolutely no problem.
and I don't think anyone else has any problem with it, but I think it's just fairly to compare it.
Absolutely no
Table it
problem.
until we get, I'll make a motion that we table this, proposal until next meeting.
Second.
Any questions? Those in favor? Opposed? Jane, did they, or Richard, did you talk to them?
Two.
Novatech? Will they get us a?
Yes, they
Yes.
called back, James and
So they
Jane
can
was.
do
Bob is going to be submitting something in writing,
In the next few,
yes,
Before
for the
next
next board
meeting.
meeting.
okay, thank you. Okay. The next thing is just an informational letter only that I sent on behalf of the town, on behalf of the town board and Champlain, of town Champlain, as well as public officials, entire staff of the town office. We wish to congratulate Slain Paquette as being honored Citizen of the Year. This was sent and read at banquet on the 28th of March. I was not able to attend, I was at the fireman's banquet. Just information only that we did send a letter of congratulations. The next thing is a letter from Bill Favreau pertaining to the agreement with Roland Carter. I believe that 30-day, not moratorium, what's the proper wording for that? Referendum. Nobody has commented to my knowledge, Alan, do you know?
No, I haven't heard
You
anything
leave
either.
it- When is that 30 days up soon?
It's up.
It's up now?
It's up.
Started February 10th.
Well, it started when we advertised it, I believe.
Yeah, and always swear in.
Really, just keep working.
Went in the Thursday after last board meeting,
Yeah.
it was the 15th of March, I believe. 15th of March, it appeared in the paper.
Was it the 15th?
Well, that's exactly
Last board
30
meeting
days
was the
today.
13th. Pardon me?
That's exactly 30 days today. Okay? With the permission from the board, we'll just call Bill Favreau and have him go forward with the paperwork to get it done. I have no other, that was the motion a month or two ago, so.
Do you have to?
Maybe you have to approve the contract.
Yeah,
Okay? Attached is the contract
Right.
from Bill Favreau's office. Okay? Then we do need a motion to approve the contract and to notify Bill Favreau to go ahead with it.
I'll make a motion to pass the contract that O'Connell and Arnold says supplied for us in reference to the gravel pit.
Okay,
I'll second that motion.
okay. Alan, you got any input on this at all, or?
No, no.
Okay, it's all pretty well written out, for what we agreed to. Okay? I have a motion and a second to approve the contract with Roland and Donna Carter for gravel pit. A roll call vote, please. Craig?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
And yes for myself, thank you. This next letter is a letter sent to Darrell Harp, an attorney in Clifton Park, from our attorney, William Favreau, pertaining to a road that somebody requested to be closed, and we didn't want to close it. I have not heard another word about it. You haven't heard anything else?
No, I haven't heard of that.
The past month. This was dated March 20th, 2 days after our last meeting. Certainly, Bill Favreau always gets back to us, but we haven't heard a word. Next one's interesting. Alan, you want to get on this one?
Well, normally the town takes about 650 tons of salt a year. But this year, we got tied into a bid with OGS. We had remaining salt contract from the previous year, 2007, so we were, luckily enough, I was able to get that salt at 2007 price, which was $53 a ton. But there was a remaining of about 300 tons, 345 tons left over that we signed that we're obliged to take at $100 a ton. And we went to Betty Little's office, well, Larry was with us, and we're still trying to get out of that.
We're one of several townships in
Yeah.
Clinton County that tried to do
Is
this.
that part of what you
And
want to know?
obviously
Is
they're
that
not,
what you wanna know?
as of yet, they're not letting us out of it.
They are
but
trying, but
there's absolutely nothing we can do.
Nothing has come out of it yet.
He was not optimistic, but, you know, because it's the contract, if they do it for one, they have to do it for everybody.
Yeah.
Moore's in the same boat.
I believe Pete
More or less, we gotta take this, we gotta bite the bullet and take this. It's too bad we can't get it all at $71 a ton. We got till August anyways, hopefully something will come out of it. I don't know, we tried anyway.
Okay. Strictly for information to the board, certainly we need to buy salt for fall, but
Is there any indication that this is gonna be an ongoing thing in the county?
In terms of purchasing, mass purchasing, yeah, this is supposed to be our guy. And that's, you know, now if the price goes way down, then, you know, sometimes the state contract for years, the state contract was better than this, but, you know, it just went up exponentially over the last couple of years, and
The
so.
contract did
I just
no
hate-
justice here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, I hate to see us get in a bind again, like we're in now, with another contract.
I know. Well, I mean, the county goes to you guys decide if you wanna be part of it or not. You certainly can opt out of it each year. It's
Okay.
not
So
anything
it's just
that
a
binds you.
one-time.
It's just.
That's right.
It's
One
year to
year,
year.
one
It's year to year.
Yeah.
And, but in theory, if the price goes down overall, it may well go down from our supplier too. It may not, you know what I mean? It's what the market will bear. And, but $100 was just, you know, but you remember gasoline was $4.50 a gallon too, and it was just, you know, everybody was worried and prices were just going up at the time, so.
But these are the kind of commodities, in my opinion, the county should be looking at county-wide that are purchased by all townships to do the same type of purchase with. I mean, volume obviously generates a better wholesale
Oh, yeah.
rate no matter what it is.
Well,
Is there any input with Al about
oh yeah.
fuel oil? and-
Fuel, they got one with fuel,
We
but
have
see,
one.
we can't get out of the fuel contract we got down till August. It runs
Okay.
from August to August.
Okay.
And we do get state contract prices, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was supposed to insulate you from these increases. What was the fact that the whole
Right.
state could buy, in theory,
Yes.
and save money. It didn't work out that way in some instances. So Al Rasco was, no one had to tell him that. He was already on it. He's-
Okay.
The state contract's not always the best.
Right.
I found that out with tires before, I even found that out with vehicles.
Mhm.
Somebody's second.
Right.
Okay. Your next thing, you have a monthly report from your dog control officer. He's been very good about giving us a monthly report. We're announcing the 5th annual McSweeney's Mission of Hope Golf Classic on July 2nd for those that play golf. That's for your information. The next letter is very interesting. It's from the Census Bureau. Between April and July, the U.S. Census employees will be visiting every house unit in every neighborhood of your community. So if somebody approaches you from the census, they're there taking a housing unit census, not a person census. And that will be coming later. So between April and July, somebody may be ringing your doorbell and confirming your address. They've done it in McBride Road already, so I know they're there. We got a letter from St. Mary's Church pertaining to the 44th Annual St. Mary's Bazaar on Sunday, May 24th. If anybody wants something here about a float, if you want to put a float in or something. Okay.
Well, reiterate that now, the reason being, it's the 400th anniversary of the Samuel D. Champlain
Yes.
exploration, that's why, I don't know.
As far as the float, you mean?
Yeah.
We haven't had a float since I've been here, if there's an interest.
We've had a float, but not, well, no, not since you've been here, but
Not
if you
6
fellows
years.
are thinking about it, you better start talking now, because
Can we buy one already made?
blowing up.
It's,
It would be nice, I mean,
Yeah,
there's no
yeah,
doubt,
that's the, I didn't mean to interject,
no,
but
that's
that's,
fine.
but,
that's the reason behind it, and it would be,
and we do have the capability, we've used the flatbed out in the garage before, we put one together. I mean, we are the town of Champlain,
that's the reason being.
and it is a 400-year celebration of Samuel. I think we should do something.
If somebody has an idea on a float in the next few days, get back with us.
Or any of the public, too.
Yeah, because it's unfortunate, I'm sure the town would sponsor something, that's the point that I was trying to arrive at, is the town would sponsor something, no matter if we've got the youth in the community or something, at least to come forward and do something. I'm sure we'll be doing something, being on the Quadricentennial Committee, to try to promote something, knowing that, that the town would support something. I think that's what they're looking for. And rightfully, I said that right along.
If anybody, the general public has any ideas for a float,
Yes.
or want to help volunteer to make a float, we'll be more than willing to listen and accept your offer to help.
Absolutely.
The next thing, we have a letter from Swindon County Health Department pertaining to the MOMS program for pregnant women, strictly for information. We have a letter from the Legal Aid Society. Please, enclosed, please find a poster for your waiting room about our new foreclosure prevention projects. Okay, so if anybody, do we have that, Julie, is it posted, do you know? I'm not aware of it.
No, I didn't see the poster.
Yes,
Did
it's
you?
on the bulletin board.
It is on the bulletin board, okay. If anybody has any questions, either call or come on in, we'll share that with you. There's going to be a public hearing for the Mountain Lake Regional EMS Council in Ellenburg, which I believe has gone by. It was April 3rd. We got this notice after our last meeting, but before this meeting. Any question there? Mickey, on this next agenda here, the resolution to adopt the Advanced Energy Codes pertaining to the Adirondacks, you want to?
Well, this is something that different towns in the Adirondacks have looked at in their building codes for energy requirements, R values and stuff like that, and they've come up with what is supposedly a more stricter code as far as energy conservation goes. And they're just looking for all the towns and the surrounding areas to adopt a resolution, and then this would be forwarded to the state for their review, and maybe at some point in time it would be adopted as part of the building codes. But towns can adopt more strict codes than what the state has, but they're trying to do this statewide, so it's just a resolution for stronger or stiffer energy requirements.
Okay, our codes now mirror state regulations?
Right.
Okay. Information only. You got the next one there too, Mickey, about the burning car?
Well, that's the presentation Matt put on, the information that he brought. I just wanted to add, I was talking with him after that, we scheduled a meeting for April 23rd here at 2 o'clock. We're gonna send the letters out to all the people in this potential district to come here, and he's gonna explain the system again, or the project, I should say, and make sure that everybody's on board with it.
What time?
2 o'clock. So we'll get those letters out this week.
Okay.
Alan, do you have anything on the superintendent highway report?
No, but the only thing I got is that, our chip money is pretty much guaranteed as it was last year. We're gonna receive about the same amount of money, then go down, then go up. And right now, we're sweeping the roads and taking all the plows off the truck, hopefully it don't snow no more. We're sanding them down and painting them for the summer so they don't rust. About it.
Okay, the day after our last board meeting, Alan and I went to Albany
Yeah.
on a busload of 50 people roughly. For lobby day for highway money, I guess you know, and the place was packed. There was several hundreds of people there. It was very informative, and the governor's budget has last year's funding in it, and no cuts that we had thought were coming, so we're glad there. The building committee, John Paul or Richard, I don't know if anything.
Yeah, there's something, Alan's gonna address something out in the shop, garage.
What I'm trying to do is put a new ceiling in the garage. I wanna put painted tin with new lights. I got 3 quotes here. I got 2 pretty close, one's right out of sight, but we're gonna try to do it in-house. You got rainy days coming up and stuff like that, and then, you know, we can't send them out in the rain working. So I figured that we could put it up by fall, we'd have it all done. But, you know, I gotta decide if, we gotta order the tin. It's gonna take 2 to 3 weeks to get it. Like I say, I got 3 quotes, but I got 2 that are pretty close. The one's right, I got told Richard this afternoon. So, if you guys can give me permission to order the tin, we'll go from there.
Where's that money coming from, Jane?
Be the building committee.
And the money is there to do it.
Because what it is, we had a fella come in from the labor board this spring. The lights we got in there, they're old, he wants me to cover them. They're fluorescent, he wants to put a cover on there. By law, it's something, when an explosion would happen, you know, it don't fall on nobody, don't burn nobody. And I can't see spend that kind of money on old light fixtures like that. Half of the time they do work, we gotta get up there and fool with them. And it's poorly lighted in there. It's dark in corners.
How about insulation? What's it like up there?
Insulation, we did that about 4 years ago. We added another foot of insulation on the attic, we blew it in.
This metal ceiling will go over the present ceiling.
Yeah, right now we got a sheetrock ceiling,
Right.
and I was gonna first strip it and then tin right over.
We're not taking the ceiling down or nothing.
No.
No.
So,
Whatever happened with that energy audit they were supposed to do?
Supposedly, we were informed that that's gone by the wayside. The governor has put a hold on it. It's not firm. Jane and I were just talking about it this afternoon, but we had heard nothing. I've contacted the gentleman a couple times, and he's did not deny it, but that's within a couple months now. So now, but we're hearing that it is factually or firmly. I'm going to call him next week and find out for sure. But anything that we do, if it is covered, if that energy audit would come in, just like the furnace that we put in, it would be covered. It'd be retroactive. So that was all part of it. Agreed.
I had put lights in the front here. The guy that sold me the lights, I had mentioned that to him, the salesman, and he said, forget it, energy audit. The governor like put kibosh to the money.
Okay.
What kind of tin you putting in there?
White.
White tin? because there's some today that it won't rust.
This is the painted, the coated tin.
Because I know one outside on our barn, top to barn, is a tin, it will never rust. It's something mixed with aluminum in it with it.
Well, I think he's speaking
It's
of.
more expensive, but
It's,
guarantee never rust.
Galvalume, it's not tin. It's a, if I'm correct, yeah. I don't know that we have a moisture problem there, do
It's
we?
more expensive. Well, you would have moisture problem by the doors.
Well, you get a moisture problem, you get those trucks loaded, you know, when they're loaded with
Yeah.
salt and sand, sure you got 'em.
I'd look into it to see about the tin.
I went to the town of Shazy and several other towns that, you know, modernized their garages and, you know, it's the tin that we're getting, that's what they put up. Oh, I imagine you, like you're saying, you wanna spend the extra money, but I don't think we have that kind of problem. In a barn, you got a lot of moisture in the barn, all the cows in there.
Do we need a motion to go ahead with the tin, or just approve? It's in the budget, we have the money in the budget.
I make a motion that, to approve the money to buy the tin to do in-house, repair to our ceiling in the shop.
Second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to buy the tin. Any questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I know nothing on the grants or Board of Assessment Review. Highway Committee,
Does that include the lights too?
I got it, the lights is already included in what I got here.
Oh, okay.
I know nothing else on the Highway Committee.
No, I just have one announcement, just pertaining to the outside, for sprucing up. The week of May 4th through the 8th, we're gonna just do a general cleanup around the premises, shrubs, so that we don't have to bid out. And we'll use all the employees within the town.
Okay? Hope it don't rain for a week.
This involve raking?
You betcha.
I got a bad back.
Oh. Good paper.
Actually, it's pregnant.
Wanna bring a note for your doctor?
I will.
We need somebody to answer the phones.
Yeah, should be.
The Water and Sewer Committee. Just that meters, we've installed several of them, Ellen.
Yep,
New meters on our, mostly in the landfill district.
I think we got 5 of them installed, the ones that were broke, and
Okay.
he's still working on them.
And can a motion be made or whatever that these meters that are being replaced are going to be the charge or the expense of the entire district, not the individuals that are getting the new meters? There was one lady that called and wanted to be sure that she wasn't personally going to be charged for that replacement. It's the entire district that will pay for these meters.
Isn't that in the contract for the district though?
But she just wanted it in writing. The lady that's been upset for quite some time about her meter and so forth, so she just wanted it in writing that she will not be specifically charged personally.
Well, I'll make a motion that a customer won't be specifically
Charged
charged,
to the
and
water
be charged to the
Yeah.
district.
I have it in the
I
minutes.
don't see why, but I'll second it.
Really, it's in water law.
I know.
Any questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The Landfill Committee, the only thing I know is the testing will be done this summer, and they'll be giving us the results and a bill. Julie, you have anything to tell clerk's report?
The only thing I have is I'd like to tell people that we have the t-shirts available here. We have a lot of them, so if anybody's looking for a shirt.
Many different colors and sizes. You have your cash receipts and your post audit bills. I do need a motion to approve the monthly bills.
I'll make a motion that we approve the monthly bills.
I'll second that motion.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I do need a motion to go in executive session to discuss personnel.
So moved.
I'll second, and I have one thing.
Yes?
I would like to personally recognize and congratulate our Champlain Fire District Chief Chris Trombley, who has been chosen Clinton County Fireman of the Year. Chris is also Clinton County Deputy Fire Coordinator. This is just two, I reiterate, two of the many hats that he wears in our community and county. And he wears them very well and they all fit.
Oh, we can get a letter off to him. Okay?
That or even, Jane and I spoke about it, maybe even a nice resolution because he's
Well deserving.
well deserved. He's an outstanding young man in the community.
Puts a lot of time, a lot of time.
Yes,
It's more than most of us know, you know?
absolutely. And that's why I put the last part. Every hat he wears fits.
Okay, we can, maybe next month, Jane, get a resolution together?
Okay, thank you.
I believe I did have a motion to go in executive session.
I make that motion as well, to go into executive session.
I made it,
You
so
that's
second.
fine.
Oh, you made it? Okay, all
So
right.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?